Hello everyone, welcome to the module 5. In this module, we will understand about the virtualization and cloud concepts. This module explains how virtualization creates virtual computers inside real ones. Cloud computing lets us rent IT resources like online, storage, software, instead of buying them. You don't have to buy a physical infrastructure. You will be getting all the IT resources online, like a virtual computer, virtualization. So what is virtualization? Virtualization is a technology that creates virtual versions of physical computing resources such as servers, storage, network, or operating system. It allows multiple virtual environments called virtual machines or VMs to run on a single physical machine, maximizing the hardware efficiency and flexibility. Here, virtualization divides a single physical computer into multiple virtual ones. Each virtual machine runs its own operating system and application independently. Benefit of this virtualization is that it saves the cost as the physical infrastructure is not allowed. You don't have to buy a data center, you don't have to buy servers, you don't have to buy any other computer. You just have to work on the virtual machine, so it saves the cost, space, and energy. For example, one server running 10 plus virtual machine for different tasks. Key concept of virtualization, Hyper-V it's a software layer, for example, VMware, EXI, Hyper-V, and KVM that manages and allocates physical resources to your virtual machines. The hypervisor is like a traffic cop. It manages resources for VMs. Type 1, that is bare metal, it is installed directly on the hardware, for example, VMware or ESXi. Type 2, which is hosted, it runs as a software on an operating system, for example, VirtualBox on Windows. Resource pooling. It combines physical resources like CPU, RAM, storage into shared pool for dynamic allocations. Isolation. Here, VM operate independently, enhancing the security and stability of your work. Now, the types of virtualization. Server virtualization. It divides a physical server into multiple VMs, like virtual machines. For example, VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, desktop virtualization. It hosts user desktop on a central server. For example, virtual desktop and infrastructure or VDI. Network virtualization. It creates virtual network independent of physical hardware like SDN. So you can create a virtual network inside the virtual machine which doesn't require any hardware or any configuration. Storage virtualization. It combines multiple storage devices into a single virtual storage pool. Application virtualization. It runs on an isolated environment like Docker containers. So now we are just overviewing the cloud computing, the virtualization. We don't have to dive deeper in this. We just have to understand the basic of the virtualization and cloud computing. For going deeper into this concept, you have to learn the concepts of 104, that is Azure 104, and further hypervisors. Here in hypervisors, the function is the emulation and resource reallocation and guest operating system support. You can see in the diagram in the operating system, Windows Server guest operating system, DOS guest operating system, Windows 7 guest operating systems. But in Virtual Machine Manager, you can see Windows Server guest operating systems, Ubuntu guest operating systems, similarly Windows XP guest operating system, etc. There are different types like host-based type 2 installed to an existing operating system and bare metal type 1 that is installed directly to the computer. Uses of virtualization, container versus the virtual machine. Client-side virtualization like Sandbox, it installs legacy software application and operating system. Test software across different platforms. It is used in training. Server-side virtualization. It is better hardware utilization and resource flexibility. Application virtualization. It installs the software to the server and stream to the clients. Container virtualization. It runs on an app within an isolated workspace. Virtualization security requirements. Just operating system security. It manages the patches and security application on each guest host security. It increased risk from hardware failure. Hypervisor security and VM escaping. It manages patches and security of hypervisor. It also isolate host from the guest and isolate guest from other guest. We'll also do the demo how to create a virtual machine later. Let's move on to the next part of cloud computing. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing service over the internet, enabling faster innovation. It's a flexible resources and economics of scale. Cloud characteristics. Cloud versus on-premise or hosted services. For cloud service providers, it's a high availability service. High scalability is also there. Rapid elasticity. You can perform number of tasks in this, and shared resources. The resources here can be shared responsibility model. Now we'll understand this diagram. SaaS is mentioned, which is called software as a service. PaaS is a platform as a service, and IaaS is an infrastructure as a service, and this is for on-premises environment. You can see responsibility always retained by the customer. Information and data, device, mobile and PCs, accounts and identities. In SaaS, is basically depend on the customer side. All these services are borne by the customer. When it comes to the responsibility varies by type, the identity and directory infrastructure, applications, network control, and operating systems. In SaaS, mainly, it is covered by the Microsoft Azure, which is a SaaS-based platform, and customer also have a control on platform as a services, as infrastructure as a services is completely controlled by the customer. Similarly, the responsibility transfer to the cloud provider, physical host, a physical network, physical data center, maximum are being governed by the Microsoft Azure. Only the on-premises work are being covered by the customer. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Private cloud. Private cloud is basically used in offices and organizations to create a cloud environment in their data center, where the organization is responsible for operating the services they provide. It also doesn't provide access to users outside the organization. Public cloud. It is basically owned by the cloud services or the hosting provider. It provided resources and services to multiple organizations and users. So one hosting providers can provide the resources, the same resources, to multiple companies and multiple organizations. It is accessed via secure network connection, typically over the internet, which is completely secured. Hybrid cloud. It is a combination of public and private cloud to allow application to run in the most appropriate location. Now we'll compare with the CapEx versus OpEx. CapEx is mainly known as the capital expenditure. It is the upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure. For example, if you're owning an office, you want to have multiple laptops or desktops or data centers or any other product or equipment that you want to manage, you have to purchase them directly. In CapEx, the cost from CapEx have value that reduces over time. But in operational expenditure, that is OpEx, you spend on the product and services as you need. That means you pay as you go. For example, in Microsoft Azure, if you are using the Active Directory services, if you're using the storage services, you only have to pay for the storage services, not for the complete infrastructure of the Azure. And you also get the bill immediately. Whatever you are using, whatever the services that you're opting, you will be getting the bill immediately. It's an upfront payment kind of thing.